Historic thrashing, emotions in the Nations League, and first qualifiers for the World Cup. Everything about the first FIFA date of 2025. The largest World Cup in history, at least in terms of the number of countries, saw its first qualifiers on this FIFA date. Japan, New Zealand, Iran, and Argentina joined the three hosts of 2026, Mexico, the United States, and Canada, bringing the number of confirmed teams to 7. By the end of 2025, 42 of the 48 participants will be known, leaving only the playoffs for the year of the World Cup. The week of national teams, however, was not just about the qualifiers. In Europe, part of the teams began competing for World Cup spots, but others were involved in the quarterfinals and promotion, relegation playoffs of the Nations League, with exciting matches between some of the teams that are likely to be favorites in North America next year. CONMEBOL in Buenos Aires, Argentina took to the field against Brazil, already qualified due to the goalless draw between Bolivia and Uruguay, but they still took the classic seriously and applied their largest thrashing in the matchup since 1959, 4-1. The result puts pressure back on Dorival Jr.'s work, who seemed to have gained a breather in the previous round when they beat Colombia 2-1 in Brasilia. Brazil closes the round in fourth place with 21 points, 10 fewer than Argentina and 6 more than Venezuela, the first team outside the direct qualification zone after beating Peru 1-0. Argentina's next opponent, Ecuador, took second place with 23 points, having started with a -3 penalty, after beating Venezuela at home 2-1 and drawing 0-0 away against Chile. Uruguay and Paraguay have the same 21 points as Brazil, and Colombia is sixth with 20, in a block that will hardly change until the end of the dispute. Bolivia, with 14, Peru and Chile, both with 10, would be the three eliminated teams today. CONCACAF, the only confederation that did not have World Cup qualifiers this month, CONCACAF saw the three host countries involved in the final phase of the Nations League. Mexico won the final 2-1 against Panama, thanks to Raúl Jiménez's goals, who also scored a brace in the semi-final against Canada. Winners of the first three editions of the tournament, the United States fared poorly. They lost the semi-final 2-1 to the Panamanians and the third-place decision against the Canadians. Qualifying matches for the Gold Cup were also played, closing the list of participants for the Continental Tournament mid-year. UEFA, there was no shortage of excitement in the Nations League quarter-finals, a phase contested for the first time in this edition. 3 matches went into extra time, 2 of them ending only on penalties. Even the only one decided in regular time was dramatic. After beating Italy in Milan 2-1, Germany went up 3-0 in the first half in Dortmund, but saw an Italian reaction in the second half and drew 3-3, breathing a sigh of relief only at the final whistle. The Germans will host the Final Four in June and will face Portugal, who passed through Denmark in extra time, 5-2, after 3-2 in the 90 minutes. France returned the 2-0 against Croatia at the Stade de France and advanced on penalties, while Spain, in Valencia, drew with the Netherlands 2-2 in regular time and 3-3 at the end of 120 minutes, also winning after the penalty shootouts. World Cup qualifiers began for the 6 groups that have 5 teams. Highlight for England, which won its first 2 games under Thomas Tuchel's command against Albania and Latvia. Among other teams that started with 2 points, Bosnia stands out, which came from a 2024 without victories but beat Romania away and Cyprus at home. Norway, which will have Italy in its group, also started strong and won its first 2 games, 5-0 in Moldova and 4-2 in Israel. AFC Japan became the first team to secure a World Cup spot on the field by beating Bahrain 2-0. In the fight for second place in Group C, Australia took the lead with victories over Indonesia and China, reaching 13 points, 3 more than Saudi Arabia, which snatched a point from the Japanese in a goalless draw on Tuesday. The decision may be left for the last round in June when Saudis and Australians face each other. Iran's qualification came with a late draw against Uzbekistan, thanks to Mehdi Taremi's 2 goals. Unbeaten in Group A, the Iranians reached 20 points, 7 more than the UAE in third, with 2 rounds remaining. Uzbekistan is second with 17 and left the definition of the unprecedented World Cup spot for the next round in June when they visit the UAE. Group B had a draw between South Korea and Jordan, the top two teams. Iraq could have taken advantage but suffered an incredible comeback from Palestine and lost 2-1, staying with 12 points. With this, Jordan remains in second place with 13 points, 3 fewer than the South Koreans. Iraq will face South Korea and Jordan in the last 2 rounds, keeping the competition open. The top 2 teams in each group qualified directly for the World Cup, while third and fourth advance to the next phase. CAF in Africa, the qualifiers have passed halfway with traditional teams having to sweat. This is the case for Nigeria, which drew 1-1 with Zimbabwe and occupies only 4th place in Group C with 7 points. Better for South Africa, which surged into the lead with 13 points and is close to returning to a World Cup 16 years after hosting it. Favorites like Morocco, Egypt, Ghana, Algeria, Tunisia, and Ivory Coast lead their groups, while Senegal and Cameroon are in second. Ahead of the Cameroonians is Cape Verde, which won the Lusophone duel with Angola 2-1 and reached 13 points in Group D at this moment. It is the possible newcomer in the best position to qualify. It is also worth looking at Gabon, 1 point behind Ivory Coast in Group F. The winners of the 9 groups will go to the World Cup, while the 4 best runners-up will compete in a mini-tournament for a spot in the playoffs. FIFA and CAF have not yet revealed what the comparison criteria for the runners-up will be after Eritrea's withdrawal and the suspension of Congo, both in Morocco's group. OFC with a direct spot after the expansion of the World Cup, Oceania saw New Zealand confirming their favoritism and winning against New Caledonia in the final 3-0, with all goals in the second half. This will be the country's 3rd participation in World Cups, while New Caledonia is the first